Hello, good morning. Welcome to Tai Chi and Empowered Movement class. I'm going to start today with just a little reading from the Tao Te Ching, talking about some Taoist principles, opposites, basically. And I'm going to start, I've mentioned this before. I think this translation is by John H. MacDonald. You can Google and find many different translations. This one is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Some of the other ones are a little bit wordy. And on this book, it's 76 where I'm starting. The living are soft and yielding. The dead are rigid and stiff. Living plants are flexible and tender. The dead are brittle and dry. Those who are stiff and rigid are the disciples of death. Those who are soft and yielding are the disciples of life. The rigid and stiff will be broken. The soft and yielding will overcome. So a little grim, but, talking about the realities of life. We water our plants. I hope our house plants. We water our gardens outside, and adding that element of water and sun and having all the right conditions for things to grow, we have living plants, right? So we can talk about like nurturing ourselves and nurturing our movement practice and, taking the time to cultivate the things that we want in our life. And when we are doing a movement practice, when we're doing a Tai Chi practice, we can work on cultivating softness in our practice. And we've talked about this before, like first learning, a lot of the times we can feel kind of stiff and rigid and sort of mechanical as we're working on each of the individual pieces of a posture. And it's good to want to break things up so that we can learn and understand the correct movements and the correct biomechanics for the postures, right? Because on one hand, if we have incorrect technique, we can injure ourselves. And, like the most mild thing is we're just not going to get as much of the benefits of the movements as we would if we get the form and the technique correct. So, and we can go back and forth and discuss this. On one hand, some practice is better than no practice, but to keep taking it to the next level, one of the things that we want to work on is developing softness and fluidity when we practice. So I'm going to start with a standing meditation and then we'll do warm-ups and just sort of keep that in mind for today to really try to keep your body soft and your breath soft. And I think we've also talked about Sifu Choi's scale of tension. And of course, we're not jellyfish, right? We have bones. We need to have some muscles are turned on, and I've talked about like activating your core or activating certain muscles or working together as a unit. So we're going to have some tension, but we don't want to be at a 10. We don't want to be really stiff and hard and rigid. So think about maybe giving yourself a number and thinking if you can just dial down the tension as you practice and see if you can get a little bit more softness in your body and a little bit more fluidity in your movements as we practice. So that's just a little bit of theory before we get started. And let's go to standing meditation and then we'll warm up. Just let me get my camera adjusted here. First position for standing meditation, shoulder width. Think about your tension scale in your legs. We're going to be using our muscles to hold ourselves up, but find a way to be aligned and relaxed. Feel free to make little minor adjustments as needed. We don't have to be stiff and rigid and adhere to a position that's uncomfortable for the duration. Excuse me. For a moment here. So relax the arms, Remember to Tai Gong, tuck the hips and pelvis under. You can even feel a little bit of activation in your glutes. If you want some help getting your pelvis tucked, you can squeeze your glutes a little bit and then relax and try to find a nice neutral position. We can release the shoulders, just check where we're at for relaxation. And then go ahead and begin. Second position. Palms up. Fingertips just a few centimeters apart. You can visualize the inflating and the deflating of your lungs as you inhale and exhale. Third position. Bend in the elbows. All the joints in the arms and hands are soft. Palms face inward. Wrists and hands are about heart height. For alignment, remember to hold your core on. It doesn't have to be a squeezing, it doesn't have to be a tension, but just a light activation of your core muscles. And imagine the space between your shoulder blades, and go ahead and give a light squeeze there. Again, just connecting with those areas in your body, your core and the muscles around your shoulder blades. Next position, palms face out, hands are about forehead height. Again, pelvis tucked, core muscles engaged. And if there were a pencil between your shoulder blades, you would just lightly squeeze and hold it there. Rib cage expands and contracts as our lungs fill with air and gently empty. Slowly lower your arms. Silently do a body scan and check for areas of tension. See if you can send a little energy there, a little attention there, and help those muscles relax. Go ahead and lower your arms. Still a little energy, a little bend in the elbows. Arms relaxed, palms face forward. For our last posture, see if you can press from your heels. Press against the floor and imagine pushing up through your spine, lengthening your body, lengthening your spine, getting a little bit taller. Continuing to let the ribs and the lungs expand and contract as we breathe. Just pressing up, seeing if we can get a little bit more lengthened spine. Little bit more space between each vertebrae. Okay, relax. Grab a little sip of water. Let's do something different. Let's start by warming up our legs today a little bit. So let's actually get into shoulder width stance. And then let's step back. So we want to work on our stance for strike tiger. So we're going to step back. I'm going to go on this side. I'm going to step back with my left leg into bow stance, remembering to Tai Gong, remembering to keep my pelvis tucked, because anytime we want to move, we want to be strong, and we want to be connected, and we want to be able to move with strength and fluidity. So think of where you want to step before you go. Step back and get into a bow stance as if we were moving into strike tiger. Then shift and step back up into this neutral stance, checking, are my hips tucked under? Am I strong? Is my low back straight and neutral? Go ahead and shift weight. Let's get ready to step for the other side, bow stance. And you can adjust so it's comfortable. And then go ahead and step back up. This can be a small bow stance since we're just practicing and getting warmed up. So from neutral, shift, and bow stance. Step up and step backwards into a bow stance. Step up, step backwards into a bow stance. A big enough stance that you can feel your weight distributed between your legs. Not so big that you feel off balance or like you have to work too hard. Just step up into neutral, step back into a bow stance. Just a light, easy warm up for our legs. So just to make this a fluid motion, okay? So just practice, you don't have to be in time with me exactly. Step up, step back. So let's make this one continuous movement of stepping and shifting, and then again, shifting and changing. Just a nice light warm up for the legs. Okay, let's change our direction from a cat stance now. So we're ready to step out. Let's imagine we're doing parting wild horse's mane. Okay. To the corner, rock back, step up into a cat stance. To the corner, bow stance. Rock back, step up into a cat stance. Bow stance to the corner. Rock back, step into a cat stance. Look to the corner. Bow stance, shift and adjust your foot, step up to the opposite corner. I'm just gonna move back so you can see me. And then let's make this one continuous movement. So we're practicing parting wild horse's mane, but we're just practicing our stepping. We're just practicing our stances. You can leave your arms at your sides, or you can step up into this position, this hand position. I feel like doing this helps me just sort of be mindful of my body mechanics. Just continuing to warm up the legs. Cat stance, bow stance to the corner, shift. Cat stance, bow stance to the corner, shift. Just make this one, again, kind of continuous pattern. Just focusing on your stances, being comfortable, shifting and moving, making sure toes and knees align. Making sure that we're taking appropriate size steps so that our stances aren't too big or too small. A little more cautious against too big stances. Okay, so same thing, keep going with our leg warm up, repulse monkey. So for repulse monkey, this is just imagine shoulder width, and we're going to walk backwards across two boards. Slide a heel back, step, slide a heel back, step, slide a heel back, step, and you can really feel your weight shift into your hip and have all your weight on your supporting leg. Step back, shift into your hip, step back, shift into your hip. And if you run out of room, just adjust. So shoulder stance, right? Imagining we're not on a tightrope, we're on two boards. Our feet stay the same distance apart. Toes point forward. You can do a little drag, step back if that helps. You keep your legs in place, or you can do a clean step back. It's up to you. So if I do a clean step back, I step back, place my toe, then my heel, really shift into that hip. Step, place my toe, heel, really shift into that hip so that I have an empty step. Step and shift, step and shift, step and shift, step, shift, weight, step, shift, weight, step, shift, weight. Okay. All right, let's get going with some wrist circles overhead. Just circling the wrists. We'll do that 1, 2, 3 times. You can adjust your stance, do a windmill. So raise, raise, go nice and slow. One arm goes back, the other circles forward, nice and slow. Arms low and in front. We can move our shoulders to the sides, open, squeeze your shoulders in back. And bring your hands around the front, backs of your hands together, squeeze the shoulder blades in the front, a little stretch. In back, squeeze the shoulder blades, round and relax. Squeeze in the back. Round and relax. A few of these. Let's just do little shoulder circles, one at a time. Shrug up and then drop the shoulders. Shrug up, drop, shrug up, drop a couple times. All right, widen stance a little bit. Let's swing to the sides. Nice and loose and relaxed. Thinking about the tension scale. We're not actually jellyfish, but we can feel a little fluid, a little relaxed for this one. Arms can be pretty limp and just contact the body. If you lift your heel when you step, you can get a little bit more inertia, a little bit more swing from side to side. Let's bring our arms up and around. Press again, open the shoulders in the back, open the upper back a little bit. Same thing, but overhead. Just a little gentle reach to the side. Gentle reach to the side. Alternating gently. You can just gently stretch your wrist if this feels good. Just a little lateral movement. All right, drop it down to the hips. Let's isolate the pelvis a little bit, push forward, side, back, side. Draw a little circle with your pelvis. Try to start small and isolated. Make sure you go both directions. Again, just trying to start this movement with a slow, isolated pelvic circle. And then we'll make a bigger circle. Circle the upper body over the hips. Make sure to go both ways. Go ahead and step into a bow stance. And we will circle our hips forward. Switch legs. Same thing on the other side. Bow stance, circle the hips. Let's get into a little bit of a wider stance. Let's try this slow controlled movement of drawing a big circle. Fingertips are kind of together. Slow controlled movements, just checking our range of motion, drawing a big circle. Do a few of those and then switch directions. Let's think about our spine again. We're just gonna relax forward for a few counts. Legs wide, I'm gonna bend my knees a little bit and just lean forward and hang. Let gravity open your spine. If this is comfortable for you, you can walk your hands to one side in front of your foot, walk to the other side, just getting a little lateral movement, side to side. Back is relaxed, neck is relaxed. Just getting a little movement side to side in this position. If it's comfortable to straighten your knees more, you can get a nice stretch behind your knees doing this. And then come to the middle, bend your knees, slowly come up, kind of in a horse stance. Feet back together. This time, feet together, same thing. Just kind of relax, hang forward. Use your knees to bend and come up. Start in a cat stance to the side. Then you can go feet flat on the floor. Same thing, lean forward. This time, one knee is bent and one leg is straight. Relax and breathe for a few counts. Come up. Nice and easy. Same thing on the other side. Slowly bend and come up. Let's move to the floor. Again, nice and easy. We're going to do our circles like we've done before. So hands in the middle, doesn't matter, big or small circles, just getting some motion. I usually count about 5 each direction. And then we're going to do both knees. So you can place your hands on either side of your knee, kind of look down, point your nose at your knee. And same thing, these circles can be a little bit smaller if they need to be. Same thing, I count about 5 each direction over the knee. Make sure you do both knees, both directions with your circles. And when you finish your circles over your knees, hands in the middle again. Same thing to finish. If you have a nice surface where you're comfortable laying down, we can shift, lean back, arms open, and just take a minute to let your back relax in this posture with your knees up. Adjust as needed. Think about creating a little bit of length in your spine. If you can kind of inch your shoulders and open up your back a little bit, just see if you can kind of wiggle around and lengthen your spine against the floor. If you need a yoga mat or a blanket or something, you can do this with a little bit of padding or another time. I'm going to put my right ankle on my left knee and just gently bring my knee towards me. I'm holding and breathing for a few counts. I'm going to release that knee towards the floor. Switch legs. Left ankle on my right knee. Going to pull my right knee towards me. As much or as little pressure as feels good for you. I'm going to release and do the same thing one more time. Right ankle over left knee towards me. Release that and switch. Left ankle over right knee towards me. And release. A few more moments of just being relaxed in this position. Now I'm going to cross my right knee over my left leg and open my arms all the way like an open book. And my nose is going to point the opposite direction of my knee. Right now, my right knee points to the left and my nose points to the right. It's going to take a couple of nice deep breaths. I'm going to use my hand to push my knee up, kind of come back to neutral. Pull this knee in towards me. And then switch. This time, left knee is going to cross over and point right. And then I'm going to open my arms like an open book. Nose is going to point the opposite direction. It's going to point left. I'm going to come back to neutral. I'm going to pull one knee in towards my chest a little bit. The other leg is relaxed, and then I'll switch. Pull my other knee in. Then one more time, I'm going to cross over. My right knee points left, my nose will point right. Back to neutral. Pull my right knee towards my chest. Left knee. And then I'll cross over. Left knee points to the right. Open arms. Nose points left. And I'm going to come back to neutral. One more time, I'm going to cross ankle to knee, pull in towards my chest. Nice little stretch. This time I'll just pulse a little bit so that it's not one continuous stretch. I'll release. Left ankle over right knee goes towards the chest. Just a little pull and pulse into that stretch. Switch, same thing, one more time. Both sides, just a little bit deeper into that stretch if it feels good. And then I'm going to come up back to sitting. And if you're not comfortable crossing knee over knee in a butterfly position, you can just simply lay them on the ground, one foot in front of the other. So if I do that, my left foot is in front of my right foot, just kind of relaxed and neutral on the ground. This time I'm gonna do another little circle. Really try to breathe and relax your low back. Just draw a circle. You can put your hands on the floor. Nice and easy, go both ways. And then whichever way you have your legs crossed or in front of the other, switch. Same thing, we'll circle both directions a few ways. It is different when you change your feet. I'm gonna rock forward onto my feet. And I'm just gonna hold this squat position for a minute. I'm gonna straighten my back. I'm just totally relaxed, lengthening my spine. I'll just turn to the side so that you can see. Just as if I wanted to sit here for a long time. I don't really want to sit on the floor. So my feet are supported, my back is just kind of relaxed and hanging over my knees. Arms are relaxed. And from here you can push back up. And let's do a little bit of a leg lunge. Just get into this hip flexor a little bit. Again, you can pulse a little bit. If holding one continuous stretch is uncomfortable, you can pulse and release a little bit. Switch. And your stance can be as high or as low as you want to go. It doesn't have to be really deep to be effective. You can pulse into that if that feels good. All right, let's take another little water break. And then we'll work on strike tiger a little bit. So for strike tiger, we're going to begin kind of a neutral. Feet aren't totally touching in together, right? They can be shoulder width or they can be a little bit more narrow than shoulder width for this one. So our first action for strike tiger is going to be a sink and split. So before we step back, we're going to sink. This is a split, right? So think of if we had a partner and their arms were going to come push us, we're going to split and push their arms to the sides. So the first action is a sink and split. As we step back into this bow stance, right? So first our toe, then our heel, then we're going to shift back. And as we shift back, we're going to do a waist turn. And this hand is going to open and grab and close as if we're grabbing and pulling another person's arm in our shift back and waist turn. So the application for this, which I think is going to help. So this is a sink and split. And if you grab and pull, you're pulling somebody closer to you, right? So maybe somebody came in for an attack, they tried to push you, or they tried to, maybe punch downward towards your stomach, and you said, no, split, and then you grab their arm, close to grab the wrist, pull, and again, our power always comes from our shift and waist turn, right? So that's our first thing there. Sink, split, grab and pull as we place, shift and turn. So there's a lot happening with this posture. And then to finish, we've got them. We neutralized whatever they tried to attack us with. We neutralized here with our sink and our split. Then we grab, we control, shift back. We've got them off balance. Probably their body is moving towards us. Shift and strike, right? So this is it's kind of a nasty application, but there's a purpose to these postures, right? So sink, split, they came at us first, right? We're going to say no thanks, neutralize, grab to control, get them off balance, shift and strike. That is a strike tiger application. Let's do both sides. Split, step back, shift back, pull. Okay, and so where our hand is ending here, so we're about, if you were to follow through here, you would hit yourself about in the navel. And we don't want to do that because, again, this first one, when we split and sink, this isn't a strike. This one is grab and pull, okay? So that's that first one as we're moving backwards. Lots of stuff going on in this posture. Once we're here, our fist is going to stop. Again, think about the distance in having a solid structure. So not having this collapsed to where you could be pushed and also not having it out too far, right? So that's kind of our structure for our arms. Get here. I've got a good distance between my navel and here, right? Because if I'm pulling, if this is another person's arm, I don't want them against my body. I don't want to pull them into my body. Right? So this isn't a strike and it's not pulling into your body. So we'll differentiate between what's happening with the arms. Once we're here, we're shifted more into this back leg, okay? From here, we're gonna close and make a fist. You can't see it because of the camera position, but this hand is gonna close and make a fist behind us. We're gonna come up and strike, okay? So this is a waist turn and strike, actually in their temple, okay? So again, if you're striking, please don't hit yourself in the temple. Please don't follow through. Sometimes when we're practicing and getting into a nice rhythm, I like to say, really, do your waist turn. Really do your waist turn, but stop yourself short of being too close to your own body. So split and sink, step back, shift, pull, another waist turn, and a strike. Lots of things going on, but that's the application, and I hope that makes sense. So we step up, palms open so that we can sink and split. Just try this a few times. Now that you know the application, just try running through this a few times, kind of on your own timing, practicing good stances. You've got all the little details, you've got all the parts and pieces. Now try to make it a little bit more fluid. I'm gonna just go to the side here. You can feel free to keep practicing, but I'm just gonna change my position. I think that changing the camera angle sometimes can give you a clue as to what my kind of distance is, what kind of my arm position is, how wide my stance is. And I'll switch from the other side as well. Okay, so that's strike tiger. Let's see. What else do we want to work on? Getting close to our time here. Let's just do a little bit more strike tiger, nice and fluid. Just practice with the timing, the breath. There's lots of things to think about with this posture. So let's just get a few rounds of practice in on both sides. And again, another little detail is that we step back and then our waist turn will kind of pull this other toe in so that as we finish, our knees and our toes will end up the same direction. So we want our stances to be strong. We want our legs to be strong. And if anything is uncomfortable with the knees, maybe you're not following up and adjusting your toe. So before we were just practicing stepping back into a bow stance just to kind of warm up a little bit. But for this posture, it's not that simple. There's actually a little bit of a different direction when we finish this. So we step back, and because we shift and turn, we are going to pull this toe in, right? So we step back, shift back, and then this toe comes in, right? So that's so that our knees are comfortable for this posture. Okay. Let's do a little bit of repulse monkey for practice. So again, remembering to tuck the pelvis. Imagine we're on a couple of boards next to each other. Try to stay about shoulder width and keep toes pointing forward. If they turn out slightly, that's okay. Just something to aim for in practice. Keep going, repulse monkey left and right. Remembering that as we step back, we really shift into that hip when we finish, so that we take an empty step back, really shift into that hip so that our other foot is ready to go. And if we're doing this, if we're truly keeping our pelvis tucked and really shifting into that hip, this does a lot to open the pelvis and to help relax and release some of the muscles in the pelvis and the low back. A little bit of practice for brush knee. Just do this on your own time, your own rhythm. Just try to keep relaxed and soft. Thinking about stiffness and rigidity and the opposite of that. Okay, a little bit of practice for golden rooster stands on one leg. Take your time, really get shifted into your hip, relaxed and aligned. Then lift, step back, toe is out at an angle. Our supporting leg, our toe is out at an angle about 45 degrees. As we step back, we place the toe first and then the heel. Step back, place your toe and your heel. Brush knees to go forward. Rock back, turn the toe out to 45, then step into your bow stance. Rock back, turn the toe out, then you're ready for your bow stance. Doing these minor adjustments in our stances, these minor adjustments with our feet, so that we know which way our toes are pointing, that's a really important detail. And to go backwards, we'll do a few more golden roosters. Step back, place your toe, and then your heel. Place your toe on your heel at a 45. When you shift your weight, then your toe comes in and you lift straight at the camera when we lift our foot, right? So our toe's not at an angle, our hip's not at an angle here, but when we step back, having our toe out at that 45 will help us with our balance. A few more golden roosters. So we could kick and block, right? So again, like I said, this is facing forward. Step back. We're forward here, but we step back to the corner. What that does is helps us with our hip position. So when we step back, our navel is also to the corner. Right? So toe, our supporting leg, our toe and our navel are to the corner, but we lift and we protect our center line facing straight at the wall ahead of us. All right, parting wild horse's mane. Bow stance to the corner. Rock back, hold the ball. Bow stance to the corner, rock back, hold the ball. Nice and smooth. when we hold the ball and we change our hands, the bottom hand always comes up on the inside and the top hand goes down on the outside. Then we open. So when we hold the ball, bottom hand stays close to our body and the top hand goes down, then comes around. Bottom hand stays to the inside, then we open. Bottom hand stays to the inside, then comes up over the top. Parting wild horses mane left and right. Bow stance to the corner, open. Rock back, hold the ball. Bottom hand comes up on the inside. Bow stance to the corner and open. Rock back, hold the ball, cat stance. Open, bow stance. Contracting, expanding. Contracting, centering, opening, expanding. Okay. I think that's good for today. It's good to see everybody. And as we kind of have been talking about, well, for now, I think continue with Zoom classes, but maybe I'll have an announcement about in-person classes soon. So thanks for coming and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.